Yo, another week, another hip hop podcast. As always, it's your boy Mehran. I'm here with the wonderful, the illustrious Bria. Say what's up, Bria.
Hey guys, how's it going? Missed you. Hope everyone's safe.
And I'm here with the great Dave. How you feeling, man?
Straight, bro. Can't complain.
It's been quite a year. 2020's been quite a year, and we're gonna continue our series on people who had amazing years in 2020. And this time we wanted to focus on production. So I think there are three producers, all of whom occupy slightly different spaces, but work with similar artists that had some of the best years of 2020. And there's one other one as well. My top three producers for the year are breakout producer of the year is Jay Versace. I guess, and the two people who are going for best produced albums of the year are Alchemist and Hit Boy. And then the honorable mention is Harry Fraud on Dave's part. All of these guys have worked with like certified like legends. Like Hit Boy's done like stuff with Nas. Alchemist has worked with a bunch of legends already in his career and is really just upping his value with every single project that he releases. And Jay Versace came out of nowhere and was just like, hey guys, I make beats too. No, but for real, I make beats too. And Freddie Gibbs is like, word? And the next thing you know, we have Freddie Gibbs and Jay Versace. What project happened this year? Like what collab project between like one of these producers and an artist that y'all enjoyed the most?
For me, I think The Alchemist with Boldy James for sure, with Pricey T in China. And also I would say Harry Fraud and Action Bronson this year.
Yeah, because this was Action Bronson's first good album in a long time.
Yeah.
Bria talked about it, I think, on our episode a couple episodes ago.
Yeah, I think those stood out the most to me. Alfredo too with Alchemist, and then also I'll probably say Burden of Proof with Hit Boy and Benny.
Holy shit, I forgot Alfredo came out this year.
Yeah.
I just made this. Damn.
That felt like forever ago.
But this year has been 4.5 years.
Yeah, we were still outside when Alfredo came out, I feel like.
Yeah. Pray for Paris too. I mean, that's not
right.
That's not
Pray
an
for
album,
Paris. Yeah.
We had just talked about this prior, but yeah, it's a crazy year. I actually, before we get back to the producing thing, I actually think 2020 has been one of the best years for hip hop ever.
I think so.
Which is crazy.
Terribly,
it's like one of the worst years in like recorded history. This also happened to be one of the greatest years in rap history. But anyway, yeah, producers.
No, but it kind of reflects the what we're talking about here. It was one of the best years ever because of such a high production value too, right? I think a lot of this quarantine and sort of these circumstances forced a lot of artists and producers to take a step back and gave them time to work on their music in a way that they didn't have it before, right? Because like you can't really go outside, you can't really be out touring, you can't do a bunch of the things that you were once doing. So you have time to work with a singular producer and you have time to really polish the product. One thing I've noticed is kind of like the resurgence last year and this year of like single artist, single producer combinations in terms of like releasing albums. We talked about it a lot last year. I think Bria and I had an episode where we talked about like Fetty and all the other stuff that came out and how like Gibbs was like a master of that. And it's really cool to see that continue. I think when Alfredo came out, Bria, I could be wrong, I could be misquoting you. Like we were like really like, wow, this is like album of the year material.
Yeah, for sure.
And I haven't listened to it in forever, but I feel like if I did, I would go back to thinking that, even though we have a bunch of other stuff that's come out since then.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at it right now, and there are certain songs that I still play on a continuous basis, and not when I go to the album to play my favorites, but like I just be wanting to hear Scotty Beam sometimes. I want to hear
that video is like his videos in general are really good.
Yeah.
Like Freddie Gibbs.
His visuals, his rollouts, like all his like wild, like the skits and like just short like music video clips and Ocha that he be finding and posting on Instagram. He has one of the most interesting I wouldn't even call it a role. I don't know what to call it. He is one of the most interesting media personalities when he's about to drop music.
For
like
sure.
Ever. It's like Boosie chaotic, but it's just still so rooted in the music. I'm like, nah, I'm like fucking with this. It's just kind of weird. But no, I mean, and because Freddie Gibbs has dropped a lot of music recently. This is probably one of my favorites out of like everything that he's given us recently as far as like playback ability.
And I think a lot of that goes back to Alchemist and what he was doing on it. And sort of like Freddie has been refining his sound for the past couple years now. And this is kind of a culmination, like Alfredo, Bandana, and Fetty are like the three that you're just looking at like, wow, these are peak Freddie Gibbs. You're not going to get much better than this.
It was funny. I felt like when I first, this is going to be a wild take. When I first heard Alfredo, I didn't really like it that much.
That is a wild take.
Oh.
Why not?
I don't know. It just didn't seem that, like, I think I was right, you know, Madlib and Alchemist are my two favorite producers ever. So I think I was kind of riding the high of Bandana into Alfredo. And I think I was unfairly comparing the two. And like, I forgot, like, when I say forgot, I mean like within myself, like the Alchemist and Madlib occupy two completely different production lanes. So when I was able to like sort of flip that lens back into like listening to it for what it was, I was like, this album is incredible.
I think also like Alchemist has had such an interesting year in general, right? So he started out that off with Freddie, and then to go to Conway and to do Lulu.
Before that, Price to Tea in China was before.
Or the Price to Tea in China, right? So to have those three on your docket, Price of Tea in China, Lulu, and Alfredo in a single year, that's a very strong case for Producer of the Year right there.
And that's not even counting his individual placements on stuff too.
Yeah, I'm just talking about his albums. And like, I don't know like where you would even go with that kind of stuff, man. Like who I understand Hit Boy had the album with Nas, which was the first good Nas album in a long time. And Hit Boy has this thing with Benny, and Benny arguably has the album of the year. But I'm not sure if like that's fucking with like those three. You know what I'm saying?
Production wise, no. I think Burden of Proof on an individual level is up there with either of those. But I think like if you're looking at entire bodies of work for this year, I think it's hard to go against Alchemist.
I think so too. What's up, Bria?
No, I agree. If I had to choose between Alchemist and Hit Boy, I definitely hands down would have chosen Alchemist. But I mean, I enjoyed the Nas album, but I think niggas know at this point I'm not the biggest fan of Nas, at least not right now. So
yeah,
that kind of. So I mean,
it's hard to listen to him now because of the shit he's done.
Yeah, and just random shit that just still keeps coming out. I'm just like, no. So I can't really say that I gave the Nas album more than like a half-ass listen one time. So I feel like I'm a little biased in this conversation because I think most of my favorite hip-hop albums to come out in the past, at least 2 years have been produced by Alchemist. So I don't think if that's fair for me to say. Well, go against Hit Boy, even though because I've really enjoyed this Benny project though. I think it was like phenomenal. But I don't think anyone's touching Alchemist.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Did you think that any of the Harry Fraud projects could stand up to them?
I thought that Action Bronson one was incredible.
I really enjoyed. And I mean, and part of it, I just don't feel like I've heard Action in this way in a long time. A lot of it had to do with like the beat selection or the production of it, but I really missed Action. And Only for Dolphins was the first time I felt like this is the Action I've been looking for and I had gotten in a very, very long time.
Yeah, I agree. And I think I also like both of his projects from a production standpoint with Currency, the Outrunners, and the director's cut.
I was gonna say he had some really good projects with Spitta.
And he did some stuff with Smoke Dizzy. Smoke Dizzy had 2 albums this year, and he
just released one recently, right?
Yeah, they won at the top of the year, and they both have extensive Harry Fraud production on it too. So I don't necessarily think that he could stand up individually to Alchemist and maybe even Hit Boy this year, but I feel like his production quality this year was worth a mention in this discussion.
I feel like that director's cut was special even among Spitta projects. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like Spitta releases projects, once every couple of months, and they're all great. But I think director's cut sounded like an album in a room full of mixtapes, if that makes sense. Like Spitta always is very consistent, always raps kind of like to a certain degree and it's to a certain level, and it's always good. It's always a high bar. But the right production behind Spitta really does make him shine. And so that director's cut album, I don't know, was it all Harry Fraud?
It's all Harry Fraud.
Yeah, it was all Harry Fraud. That makes sense because it sounded like a complete album, and it sounded like it was just a finished product. Sometimes Spitta be releasing stuff, and it's great as individual songs, and you can see the concept, but sometimes the concept is half-formed. Director's cut was like, yo, this is an album. I spent my time. Here it is.
Yeah, I think I honestly prefer the Outrunners more, just because he had the joint with Conway on there. He had In the Coop with Jim Jones, which is like fire. Jim Jones, which I didn't even know Jim Jones was rapping like this now. You had to put me onto that. I was like, yo,
nigga, yes.
Yeah. I mean, his last album was amazing. Like,
yeah, it was. I went back and listened to that joint, and then. He also had my number one favorite Currency song now, Golden Chrome, was on the Outrunners, just because it was about his son and like coronavirus and all that stuff. It was just very heartfelt. I've never really heard Spitta like that before, but everything changes when you have kids. So that's just my thing. And then,
that's something that none of us know anything about.
Yeah.
Thank you, God.
Yeah, thank you, God. But man,
we got Jay.
Jay Versace, man, him producing for Griselda was not something I saw happen in 2020, but here we are.
Okay, did anybody? All right, so I'm not, as savvy with like these internet videos as like the kids are. Were y'all aware of him being like this musically talented dude?
I was a little bit, because for a really, really long time, and I don't want to say as long as like maybe when Vine died, maybe like right after Vine died, for a very, very, very long time, Jay Versace used to just post like really, really short clips, like almost Vine 6 to 10 second clips of him like sitting at the same desk that I guess is in his room, and it would just be like usually like a loop of a sample of a song. And it would just be like just a loop, and he'd be like, "Yeah, I made this today," and he would post it on Instagram, and like, if anything, people were just like trolling the comments under it. Like, where's Erykah Badu or whatever the fuck. Like, he was doing that for like a year or two at least. And it would be like random ass, like mini Ripperture songs where I'm like, he really just took his mom's iPod, and it just seems like he got high as shit and just was like, oh, this song would be a cool rap song. Maybe like do this somehow. And like, he was doing that for a consistent year. And I remember that's the only reason why I had my eyes on him. And I was like, I wonder if people are actually going to start fucking with him.
Because I thought he was trolling. Because I
also
remember
thought he was trolling.
At the top of like quarantine, I remember when Wretch was doing these crazy ass fucking Instagram lives. At one point, Jay Versace came on there. I also didn't know he was from Jersey. So that's probably why that happened. And they were just like joning on each other. And then he had said something like, yo, we need to make music for Newark or some shit. And then Wretch was basically like, fuck out of here, nigga, basically. And then like literally like 2 weeks later, I saw Westside Gunn basically like, oh, I got Jay Versace on this project.
And I remember seeing, I was like, yes, it happened! And I was so excited that somebody like Freddie or like Westside had like taken him seriously, because I just knew it was gonna be like a TikTok rapper. I don't even know if TikTok has rappers, but like that's kind of where I figured people were gonna fuck with him. I don't know. I think the niggas that created the lo-fi label, those were the niggas that I thought were gonna be the niggas fucking with like Jay Versace. Like to where like the production wasn't gonna be bad, but I just felt like niggas weren't gonna know what to do with it. And this nigga Westside was the first nigga that I saw publicly like, yeah, I'm fucking with this nigga. I'm excited. And I remember being on Twitter like, yes, yeah, because a lot of people were like, wow, I really thought the nigga was playing. No, like, oh, he's actually trying. He's like, no. And he's been saying it for a while, and I get why niggas would like assume that he was trolling, but he was like very consistently putting out samples of his music, like, and then he would at people. He would at artists on Twitter like, hey, you should fuck with this. Hey, I see this person on this song. People like, shut the fuck up. Oh, this nigga gay as shit. Like, put the do-rag back on your head. Like, niggas really used to just troll him out, and he just like, all right. Like, not like no jokes or like he wouldn't even like clap back. Just like, oh, that's funny, but you should fuck with me though. That's cute, but you should fuck with me. And I've seen him do that with multiple people. A lot of rappers actually. A lot of rappers.
To see the relationship develop between him and Freddie was really hilarious. Because you could see this shift when Freddie started taking it seriously. Like, oh wow, this guy can make beats. Like, Freddie likes to troll people, right? He likes to have fun. Like that skit with Tyler and everything else. Like he's a fun-loving guy. But to watch him, like, to realize, like, wait a minute, this guy can make beats. And he's still trolling him. Like, he's still having fun with him. But you can tell there's a different sort of, like, interaction level now when you watch them on Twitter talking back and forth.
So, yeah, you ugly as shit. Send that pack over, please.
Yeah, it's like, what? He did something on Concept Jackson, who I don't know. But
he's from Richmond. He's actually, yeah, he's really talented.
And then West Side Gun this year. So that was really surprising.
And he just came out the cut with the Versace tape.
Yeah.
Which,
and now and then he's previewing JID music that hasn't been released yet.
Can't wait
JID.
for that. I cannot wait.
Which I will say, I didn't necessarily like the Versace tape at first. But it grew on me. I think I had my expectations too high. I still think he's kind of new to producing.
Yeah.
So he's like figuring out his sound and developing out a little bit. So
yeah,
I think I was like,
sure.
oh my God, I wanted, like, this is going to be crazy. It's going to be Boldy James and fucking Jay Versace. And I was like, oh, the production's kind of okay. But it's actually good. It's good production.
It's good.
It was cool for a nigga that I feel like for the most part documented their whole process of like, hey, I'm teaching myself how to do this shit. Hey, look, I did this shit. And now niggas are fucking with it. Like, he documented that whole thing. So, I mean, I don't know how many projects or how many whatever songs he's produced that like haven't been released, but as far as the shit that's been released that we've heard, it's pretty fucking great.
Another producer I wanted to highlight who also had a breakout year similar to Jay Versace is Kalen Ellis. He's a guy that did a EP with Lupe. So he did that House EP with Lupe that Lupe released this year. That was actually really good. So yeah, Lupe Fiasco released this EP this year called House. He has a song on it about dinosaurs. It's actually really funny. Anyways, the reason that it's interesting, the reason I related to Jay Versace is Kalen Ellis is a black guy with a flat top and glasses, and he always plays like these random instrument loops on Twitter. And he's just one of those guys that like just makes these like random instrument loops on Twitter and posts them. And he posts them. He's like, hey, check out my beat, check out my SoundCloud, etc., etc. And Lupe finds one of these clips somehow, and Lupe's like, ha, you shouldn't have posted this, and then takes it and freestyles over it, or raps over it, and people are like, whoa, this is so cool. And eventually it turned into a whole EP, just him finding him off Twitter, and I thought that was really, really cool. So I wanted to highlight Kalen Ellis. I think that's how you pronounce his name. Dave, are you looking him up?
No, I was gonna bring up another producer.
Oh, who are you gonna bring up?
This is just me personally. I really, on Pray for Paris, was the first time I was introduced to Conductor Williams. He did Eurostep, and then he also did Frank Murphy on Who Made the Sunshine, and he also did maybe like one or two joints on what was the one with the red cover that West Side Gun did?
Red cover.
I think it's Fly God is Awesome God too.
Fly God is Awesome God, yeah.
Yeah. He did two joints on there, and like this is definitely like one of those, like, this is just my personal taste, but like he makes beats on these albums using like these off-tune pianos. And like I just really enjoyed how he made that sound on those joints. And I think he's gonna be someone to look out for in the future.
I think it's been a really interesting production year. I think there's been a shift in hip hop to a certain extent that was always there. People always respected producers, but I think now even more so people are respecting producers and respecting the credits more, right? So they're respecting the people who are mixing it. They're respecting and understanding that it is equal parts in an art. And this is the thing we come back to it. We talked about earlier in this episode about how producers and artists are coming together to make albums together, and how they're getting more and more equal treatment in their contribution to the album, which is how it should be, because they're responsible for a lot of the sound on that album. And I think that's a really, really good direction for hip hop music to move in.
I think
and to continue moving in.
I think fans are starting to realize that a lot of these rappers would be ass without their production. Just to put it bluntly.
Yes.
Like, I remember someone was talking about how Pierre Bourne basically made a lot of these these popular rappers we have wouldn't be popular without Pierre's beats. And I think
was that like a shot at Playboi Carti, or like not?
Maybe trippy too, but but I think that people are realizing like production is important, because especially with like the sort of lack of I don't want to say lack of content, but like the limited content in mainstream rap music makes it so that the production has to be of high quality. So I think people are really respecting the producer a lot more now.
And I also think production's getting better. People are learning more tricks. Things are becoming more accessible. Even Alchemist, yes, he was amazing during the Mobb Deep years. He's had an amazing career, but he is aging really well, you know? And a lot of producers are aging really well. Madlib, obviously, which we always knew was going to happen. But just in general, a lot of even Pete Rock is coming out with an album in a couple months, I believe. Premier had a song with Griselda last year. A lot of these producers are aging super well into their sounds, and it doesn't necessarily sound dated, especially when they work with new people, and it's really exciting to watch. 2020 year has definitely been a good year for production.
I think the last thing I'll say is there's been an influx of producers making their own beats instead of sampling, and I think that's why you're seeing the talent gap sort of grow, because people don't want to. When we had mixtapes and stuff, people would just sample songs, put them on mixtapes, and because it was free, no one really cared. But now, where it's you get plays on SoundCloud and YouTube and get money from that, you have to clear those samples to even put music out for free, because you're going to be making some sort of profit off of it. So I think that forced a lot of younger producers to have to make their beats themselves, actually compose sounds and music together. And that's why I think you're seeing a lot of this influx of talent and producers, because they have to basically start from scratch.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's a good place to end it. Bria, you got anything else to say? You want to bring up anything else?
Nope.
That was a lot for a nope.
I had to make sure.
But all right then. Thanks for listening, y'all. Comment y'all favorite producers, and who you think we should have talked about, who we missed. This was an episode done on the fly, so we just came off the top of the dome for this one. Yeah.
Shout out to Dear Destiny. That's my favorite producer.
Shout out to Dear Destiny. I might put her beat in the background of this, because she gave me some beats for the pod. So you might be hearing that as we slowly fade out.
I bet you said slowly fade out.
Fade out. All right, y'all. Peace and love.